And welcome everybody to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here right now with Kevin Noon. Kevin, how's it going?
I'm having a better time than Matthew McConaughey and Glenn Powell and some of the other dignitaries that were here at the game, looking at the Texas side of things. I'm really looking forward to going back and watching this game because you sometimes can't really appreciate a 14-7 game in the midst of it. But, I think we saw a lot of growing up and, being able to get through a lot of this here in week one, game one against number one. I think all of that, carries a lot of water.
And I will say Glenn Powell was taking pictures with everybody before the game. People would be walking up to him and he was happy as heck to take pictures. I don't know that he was as happy after the game or during the game, but beforehand, he was very accommodating. And I see we've got a bunch of super chats that I'm not sure if we've already touched on.
Well, they're gonna get bonus. We'll just do it again.
Yeah, we'll let that one. We'll let them build a little bit. But Kevin, when I'm watching Julian Sayin, Ryan Day said it, and I completely agree. We probably could have gave him more to do. Could have put more on him. Didn't necessarily want to do that. Second half of the defense going the way it was. This seemed like a very safe approach, but I think Julian Sayin is capable of more than just being safe. I think he's capable of being dangerous.
Well, and we just talked about this with Mark a minute ago in the first half of the show. Early in the game, he kind of got, picked together with a bunch of drops. And, I think maybe you develop a little bit more confidence early in the game. If some of the Max Clare had a drop that was very, un-Max Clare-like, he would have never done that at Purdue. and I already see the hook coming in. Tom is going to sit in his rightful chair here in a second, so I better get all my thoughts in quickly. But look for me. Look for me on the morning show. I'm sure I'll be doing that as well. But yeah, I think that you don't want to sit there and have Julian Sayin doing too much at this point. You play to win the game. Heard an NFL guy say that at some point. You play to win the game, so do what you need to do. What happens if it ends up being 14-14 and then it gets into game winning time? But fortunately for Ohio State, we didn't get there.
Yeah, and it would have been very interesting to see what Julian Sayin does with 2 minutes on the clock or a minute 30 on the clock with 75 yards to go, because it's not gone well for the Buckeyes when they've been in that situation over the years. But 13 of 20 for 126 yards and a touchdown, very pedestrian. But that's what Ryan Day wanted. Just basically don't go out there, lose the game. Don't have expectations on I'm going to throw for 300 yards. Just go out and take the plays that are there, and that's what he did. I was wondering, is he being too conservative? And then as I'm thinking that, they throw deep to Carnell Tate, and it's like, okay, I'll be quiet now. And Carnell Tate did a good job of catching that one twice as he was being interfered with. And there were some interference calls that didn't go Ohio State's way, but in terms of the drops, there were at least three or four drops. Max Clare had one, Jeremiah had 2 or 3. And you add those to the 13 to 20, and he would have been 16 to 20 for 160 yards or whatever. And now you're talking a pretty good debut, which this may have been the best 126 yards passing I've seen from an Ohio State quarterback in a while.
I'll end on this thought, then I'll tag Tom in. How many times do you beat the number one team in the nation with 203 total yards?
Not very often. I'm going to say that I think that's scientifically, that's a fact, not very often. I will say, and either Thomas here now as well, either of you can answer this question, or you can't. I'm going to throw it out to you. Do you know the last time that Ohio State had exactly 203 yards of total offense in a game?
Did they win?
They did not.
Was it against Clemson?
31-0?
No, they had like 211 in that one. The Cotton Bowl against Missouri, fellas.
Oh, boy.
203 yards of total offense, and that did not look like a team that this 203 yards of offense much better than that one. So, Kevin, thank you very much for stepping in.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and not walk weirdly off the shot, but I spilled my water all over my lap, so I look like I went to the bathroom.
We now welcome in Tom and say, Kevin, go get you a dude wipe. And
do we have a new sponsor that I'm not aware of? No? Okay.
So, Tom, First, welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm still Tony Gerdeman here now with Tom or Tom. I've already given one power pause. I don't know if I should give two, but I'm gonna because it's a special day. It's you just knock off the number one team in the nation. You become the number one team in the nation, barring something unforeseen.
Penn State, I think, is up 6-0 on Nevada, so it's probably a little soon to say.
How's it going?
Tony, it's good. This was a delightful day for college football on the whole. Like, it was just the whole day from beginning to end. Oh, they're up. I don't know what you're playing at.
Florida State up 14-7 on Alabama.
Ooh, well, I guess this is still preseason, so it doesn't count. Just from beginning to end, just a delightful day of college football.
Yep.
From the weather to the Lee Corso thing, and he does his pick, he gets his flowers, everyone cheers for him, he gets the pick right, and you end up with a really good, close, competitive game. There was a moment where it looked like, oh, this is over earlier than expected, and then the interception gets overturned, and you got a close to 60-minute football game, and I think everyone can kind of walk out of here going, there's stuff to improve. This team's going to be a lot better in 2-3 months. These two teams will probably see each other later in the year again. But I don't think either team, talking to the Texas folks, I don't think they're walking out of here feeling bad about stuff. And I would certainly assume that Ohio State is feeling pretty good and also feeling like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to work on, but now you got 3 weeks to work on it before you have another challenging game.
Our buddy Pat Murphy and I were standing in the end zone. And he asked, do you think if Texas scores here to make it 14-13, they're going for two? I'm like, oh, absolutely, they're going for two, because Steve Sarkisian understands that this kind of loss doesn't hurt you.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't kill you. So he definitely would have, I think, gone for two. I don't know. Did he even?
No.
Yeah, it's not something like, Coach, say you would have scored there.
Coaches don't generally want to get into
I don't-
hypotheticals.
No. So you did come over there. Did they bring out some players as well? Or?
They did. It was Sark, and then they brought out I think 6 players, 7 players.
It seemed like you were over there for a while.
Yeah, I was over there for a while. We have all the video of all of those interviews up on our YouTube channel. The Sark interviews up there already. I think the players should be up in just a few minutes if you want to watch those after you're done with here. But lots of good, interesting stuff to say, and we've got some interesting a couple sound bites from Sark that we'll let you hear a little later on. But I'm sure we have other stuff we want to get to before we get to that.
Yeah. Boy, we got a bunch of super chats in here.
Well, we should probably get to some of
let's
those.
Let's get to the people. Let's see what they have to say. Okay. Ryan Dawes gifted 20 memberships to Buckeye Huddle. Thank you for that. Tom, that automatically gets dispersed.
Yes, I was delighted to hear that earlier, that we were not responsible for doing that in the middle of the show.
You can't ask me to do stuff. Whatever you do, don't ask me to do stuff. Ryan Dawes, $25 super chat. Thank you for that. Pretty good defense, I'd say. Was Hartline's game plan surprisingly conservative, or was Sark's? I think, and I said it a little bit with Kevin, if they would have run Arch more in the first half, things would have gone better for the Texas offense. The Brian Hartline conservative approach was also approved by Ryan Day because of the Ohio State defense. He talked about it like, if things would have been different with the defense, they could have dialed it up more. Looking back on it, they could have asked Julian Sand to do more, but it's not something they wanted. They didn't want to put too much on him, but you haven't given your thoughts on Julian Sand yet. Everything I saw today, he would have been able to handle it because he looked just fine.
He looked just fine. I thought the offensive line did a nice job giving him time for the most part. And the Texas guys talked about the fact that they did use some max protect to make sure he had. Yes, I thought the game plan was very smart because I didn't get a chance to hear the Ryan Day thing. Was Ryan Day basically saying they felt like they could lean on their defense and they weren't going to have to?
Right.
Yeah,
like, especially in that second half where you see how things are going, and it's like, let's just not screw this up for the defense and put them in a bad spot with the offense. And you look, 1 tackle for loss for Texas, no sacks.
Well, and one tackle for loss for Ohio State. One sack. It was just the Arvell Reese sack on Arch Manning, and that was it. I mean, there was not a lot of penetration, really, either defensive line, which I guess I'm not shocked at. I mean, the Texas offensive line was a little more of a concern than the Ohio State offensive line, but there was plenty of talk that the Ohio State offensive line was going to have issues, and they didn't really, it seemed. It just felt like there was a lot of kind of boxers circling each other and sort of feeling each other out for a while and seeing, okay, just kind of taking a swing every once in a while. But it really, I turned to our buddy Garrick Hodge in the third quarter, and I said to him, you can just feel it in the air that one of these quarterbacks is going to make the mistake that is going to, and that they're going to lose that game. And it was 7-0 at that point, and literally 2 plays later, Arch Manning threw that interception to Jermaine Matthews.
Yeah, and he had a rough day, and I saw your tweet about, hey, calm down, like this.
Yeah,
with the broad sweeping one
Yeah.
way or the other. I do think this validates me. I was the only person saying like people are crazy for saying Arch Manning is the top player in the nation or whatever when they're already putting him on the best of list. It's like, let him do something. Now you can't judge him based off of this. He's got an entire body of work to go, but he was rushing through some things. He's making some inaccurate throws, but he said himself recently, like, I can't wait till I throw my first interception or whatever, and people can just kind of back off and let me be. And well, here you go.
Your wish.
Super chat from Wingman Ted. Do coaches have to earn their logos on their outfits like players have to lose their black stripes? Who dressed Matt Patricia? I don't know if you saw it in here. His iron-on Ohio State logo was like coming off of his, his shirt. But sometimes that happens when the opponent is holding. So I don't know if this was Sark in there, holding per usual. But yes, he was. You need to get back in there and get some glue on that or something like that, some fabric glue. I don't know if this is a Nike issue, but I can promise you, if they had just switched to Under Armour or Adidas, they'd be going through hell right now.
Yeah, we have a question about coaches dressing, so I'm just going to put this picture up right here.
Thank you, Maddie and Fuego, for that super chat. For all the super chats so far.
That's Sark on the sideline.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
In the front there, that's him, I believe. And with the you can see the exposed ankles. His shoes are wet, but his cuffs are bone dry. Everything's coming up Sarkisian house. I looked at that and I thought, well, whatever people are going to say about whatever other coaches are dressed, that was certainly not the most. That I think there was the most fashion choice of anyone that on the sideline there. Treebuck says Julian, for first-time starter, did a perfect job of running all the time off at the end of the game. Took the clock right down to 0. Excellent poise. He's not ready to be late 2022 CJ Stroud, and that's fine. This is his first career start. He played what I sure think seems like a pretty good Texas defense, and he did just fine. They did what they needed to win. It was not a thing of beauty by any means, but he did what they needed to win. The 0-18 of first-time starters playing the number one team in the nation.
That's right.
So that's now 1-18. So I guess to me that's both. I think Sark and Ryan Day talked about what's the barometer, and the barometer is win the game. Guess what? He won the game. So that felt like they were really managing things to keep him from having to do too much, and he did what they needed him to do. But he made that throw to Carnell Tate, and that was a play that they need. Well,
both of them.
Yeah, both of them. But I mean, the one in the end zone, I can pull that one up.
The one from the end zone and the one into the end zone.
The one into the end zone. That one, I can find that one real quick too. That was here's him winding up and flinging that one down. That is Carnell Tate down there somewhere. And had my first Tony, real good ref just running directly in front of me right as a perfectly in focus guy is catching the football. So you have a frame or two later here that I would have liked, but there's Carnell Tate catching that ball. There's the back judge screwing things up as usual. SEC refs, am I right? But that was, you saw Arch Manning heave one downfield a couple times and never connected. He was off. There were some crossing routes where it's, there's one of Ryan Wingo where it was just kind of behind him. He just was a little off. And Julian Sand was not amazing. That's not going to be, his entire Heisman reel is from that game or anything. But he made the big play that he needed to make. And as to your point, made some other big plays too.
Yeah, and he took the checkdowns, never got greedy, stayed patient. And I think that's pretty good. Like his command overall, staying patient, not reaching for too much, not being like, I just really want to throw this downfield. So now it becomes, I want to see, is he Drew Aller in that regard, which is not good.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. You've got these guys, you got these receivers. You're not going to go full Drew Aller. But in a game like this, conservative, it worked. And that was part of the game plan, especially when the defense is playing it as well as it was for Ohio State. And also go ahead and give the Texas defense credit as well. And man, this is a hard fought one. And you knew that Ohio State would be punting at the end when they trying to run for a first down against that Texas defense. At that point, with like 3 minutes left, I told Pat, I told somebody, maybe it doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to just run it here because time is not really an issue because Texas has timeout.
Right.
They've got the 2 minute drill. You don't have to try to burn the clock here. You need first downs. And they weren't able to do that. Things bogged down a little bit, but defense stepped up.
Yep. Mike Farino says, predict the top 3 next week to OSU and Texas just flip. Does Texas fall more? They shouldn't. IMO.
Texas has to fall.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's going to be 1 because you're going to have a better win than Penn State, whatever Penn State ends up doing against Nevada. So Ohio State's going to be number 1 by default. Texas, to me, I look at Texas and going on the road and having the ball with a chance to tie against the new number 1 team in the country in the final minutes. I look at that. That's honestly as impressive or more impressive than whatever you do to Nevada. So I tend to be a pure resume ranker, and a loss like this is, play someone Penn State.
Yeah.
Like I the way Penn State has their non-conference schedule this year, I have no interest in even talking about them until they get to conference.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the winner of the Clemson LSU game is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, but Texas shouldn't fall out of the top 5 or whatever. I mean, we'll see what happens with Notre Dame and Miami and Clemson, LSU, and a bunch of other games. But
Florida State right now 17-7 over number 8 Alabama in the second quarter.
Woof.
You say woof, I say
well.
Woof.
So, and I think we can have a little bit of a conversation on the bigger picture implications of this game, because I have seen people saying, and I don't necessarily disagree, Ohio State they're not in the college football playoff, but you have a win like this, you still have the margin of error of losing a couple games, because you can now sort of point to this and go, Debbie, you're not leaving us out with this win and 2 losses. So now you can lose 2 games the rest of the way. You've got like 4-ish losable games, and that's ish.
Well, I saw some Wisconsin.
Right.
Boy.
If Wisconsin is the 5th most losable game, 4th. I mean, you've got Washington, Illinois, Penn State, Michigan, and then Wisconsin. So, yeah, Ohio State's in pretty good shape right now, and Texas isn't in bad shape right now. I don't think this really materially hurts Penn State, Texas's chance of making the playoff. They're probably still one of the top teams in terms of being a 3-loss team that could get in if you don't have another teams that have good wins. But I am going to need the SEC fixed, folks. Just go sit quietly in the corner for a while, and we don't need to hear from you. I think hypothetical matchup season where you were undefeated is over. Now you're back to regular matchup season.
Oh, no.
And Ohio State has won 3 games in a row against the SEC since last December. I think it's time to go. It is what, Tony, we from New Jersey, that's go and get your shine box time. Go get your shine box, SEC. We'll talk to you later. I mean, we'll see what happens with Michigan and Oklahoma, and we'll see what happens with. But I mean, Texas is going to blow out Ohio State. August is over. Actual football is happening. So now you don't get to talk anymore, because the grown-ups who win football games are talking. You go sit in the corner now. Thank you.
Right. As they say in New Jersey, you call this gabagool?
That is what they say.
Ryan Day did say, talking about Texas, when we play them again, I don't think it's going to look the same way.
And Sark, one of the sound bites I have from Sark, he ends up talking about the fact that he wouldn't be surprised to see these. At this point, you almost assume these teams are going to play again, because these are unquestionably, to me, I say unquestionably, and we're through the noon games on the first Saturday of week 1, but I didn't see anything in that game that made me think, oh boy, these two teams, by the time we get to December, these are going to be 17th and 21st teams in the nation. Those look like two good teams playing a week one game, and they're going to look a lot different if and when they meet again later in the season.
Super chat from Michael Wainscott saying looked in command and ready to be unleashed. I think that's going to be something the coaches leave here with. Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, Billy Fessler. The preparation they went through worked, and Ryan Day said that everything that Julian was telling him, seeing and saying on the sideline was correct. Mm-hmm. So, when you're getting that kind of communication back from your quarterback, gives you a ton of confidence that they can handle more. And doesn't need to be next week. I assume they're going to be throwing the ball around a little bit next week. Yeah. But I also think you need to get James Peoples going and get that running game going. But again, this game counts as much in terms of what to expect the rest of the season, almost like Grambling does, because neither one of these are a standard defense as to what you would expect from the offense week to week. So things are going to look much different next week. That doesn't mean the running game is solved or everything is perfect. And it also doesn't mean that Ohio State can't run the ball because they average 2.3 yards per carry in this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it's remarkable. If I told you, they're going to throw for 126 yards, Jeremiah Smith is going to only catch 60% of his targets. He's going to average 7.2 yards per catch. They're going to run for 2.3 yards per carry with a long of 8. Your odds that they win that football game.
Not great, because we also talked about with Ohio State, isn't 4.5 yards a carry that's probably a winning number,
and that's what Texas had. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And they ran the ball well. And one of the concerns that I had when we talked about it in the pregame live show was, what does this defensive line look like in the fourth quarter? Because they were getting softer, and part of that is Kenyatta Jackson was out. Yeah. That doesn't look like it's a long-term thing. I think he's got his bell rung. But you saw them getting a little bit softer, and CJ Baxter is just a beast. He's a 230-pound beast, and he did well. How about at the end there, CJ Hicks getting that pass rush and causing the C Grant and causing the throw, and then Caleb Downs there to bring the tight end down a yard short, because I'm way down at the other end watching this, and it's like, oh, it's complete. And then everybody starts celebrating. I'm like, I guess he's short.
Right. That was. I'll see if I can throw it together. I don't know if I have my stuff yet.
Mateo and Fuego with another super chat. Thank you for that. If you got any questions, go ahead and throw them in, and we'll definitely take them. Mike Ferguson, breaking news: Greg Sankey is now proposing that all possessions within the 10-yard line count as touchdowns to maintain SEC dominance. Look, you go into Columbus and you lose 14-7. That's what we call an SEC win. Not even the transitive property. It's like the exchange rate this is a win for the SEC. I think everybody knows that. I don't remember who suggested it, but somebody said Matt Patricia should just let Grambling go down the field with their first possession next week and just totally flummox Steve Sarkisian. Like, am I a bad coach?
Do Rodney let them score for defense from the end of a game? Like, nope, good. Whoop, oh, I fell down. How about that?
So just put Texas in their feelings that way.
Yeah, that would be strong agree on that one. Just going through. Well, here, let's head another super chat.
Yeah, Mateo and Fuego, big boy game. That absolutely was. I'm trying to. There was like a heavyweight fight, but I also don't think it's like, the heavyweight fights where they're just hugging each other, and it just goes. And
you had a little boring. That in the first quarter.
So you're feeling each other out, but this is also two really good defenses going at it. I do wonder what the next fight will be like. If it's like, oh, we need to swing offensively as well rather than just defensively, and then it turns into like a lightweight fight where they're just smashing each other, but it can't last that long, and eventually somebody gets knocked out by the second quarter.
Yeah, that was a game where what the first game looked like may not be at all what the next game looks like. I mean, you go back to the Oregon-Ohio State games last year, and that was week 5, something like that last year. So you had the teams a little more established, and you still had an entirely different game the second time. And I'm not saying Texas is going to be up 34-0 on Ohio State in the playoff, but I think you're probably going to – the next time I would expect a higher scoring game. I would expect Maybe the 24-20 game I thought we would get this time. I don't know. Maybe we correct we adjust. Grade the game on a curve and give them a few extra touchdowns. I'm looking for the photo of the celebration from Caleb Downs. I'll have to find that later.
Ohio State with 3.4 yards per carry in the Cotton Bowl last year, down to 2.3 this year. Texas did a good job against the run.
Yeah. So let's get back to here. Wingman Ted gifted 10 memberships. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jordan says, what's the super chat got to be for Tom to do a Paul Feinbaum impression for the rest of the show? Any favorite picks from the day? Yeah, I'll get some favorite picks up there. That's Kevin
an
says,
impression of you.
Kevin says he has to eat 2 jars of pickles for me to do it. That you just said that was
we will do Kevin
quote 2 jars of pickles. That's what he said.
We'll do Kevin impressions for free. You don't need to super chat that. We'll just do those.
But not eating pickles. No, not those kinds of impressions. Peanut Gallery chiming in here. Mike Frito says, I owe CJ Hicks a million apologies. Didn't think he was going to be a player here. I think he's just someone who has a role that he was going to be good at. And now he's in that role. And now he can potentially excel. And that doesn't mean he's going to be, the next Nick Bosa or anything. But you can be the next Chase Young. You could just be a really good situational edge rusher. You have to feel good for him. He's been here forever. He's in his final year. He's always been one of the nicest people on the team. Going back to being, when he was in high school, he was, Mark Giffler called him Captain Buckeye because he was just so personable, so friendly, really nice kid. Really nice to see him get a chance to do the stuff that I think people were sort of assuming 4 years ago, like, oh, he'll be doing this by October. It's like, well, everyone's path is a little different.
I want to go back and watch and see the rest of his play. I always get frustrated by the quarterback hurry stats because there are none for Ohio State. There are no quarterback hurries. I promise you there were. And Texas had 2, but CJ Hicks definitely had a quarterback hurry on that last one because he had his hands on Arch Manning, was pulling him down. I'm going to go back and watch the rest of his snaps and see how he did because he stepped in. Kenyatta Jackson was out, and he stepped in. I don't recall seeing Logan George at all. I did. What did you think about first quarter? We saw Devin Sanchez and Nate Roberts, freshman tight end at fullback on 4th and goal from the 1. You take out Jeremiah Smith. You're like, no. Put 83, the true freshman tight end in.
Again, like, good for those guys. They're both people that we sort of were expecting big things from. I was not expecting big things. I wasn't expecting any things from them this week. That was, true freshman, sure. You can feel as good as you want about them. Are you throwing them in game 1? How really sure are you know what you're going to get from them game 1 against the number 1 team in the country? This is one of these things where, the coaches can happy talk you and tell you that they can talk your ear off about how great, at least show me. Well, that is showing me what you think. And that is speaking loudly.
And Devin Sanchez was in there in the 4th quarter on that last drive as well. He was a 3rd corner. And Keenan Bailey again plays another 5 tight ends and just keeps it churning. It's crazy. Patrick Logan with a super chat. What's with Manning's sidearm? We have not watched much of him. I have not watched much of him, but I thought like he just winds up and 1,000 miles an hour as hard as he can. And it's like, this is unnecessary. Like I would expect better timing, and it's almost like he's trying to catch up because he didn't see things as quickly as he had. He thinks the window is closing maybe more than it is, and maybe this is also being coached in preparation for this week. That the windows will not stay open very long, so you need to get it in there. But I don't know where his footwork was, but again, he was low on some throws, he was behind on some throws, and a lot of these he's just like sidearm whipping it, and just. He didn't give himself enough of a chance throughout most of this game.
Well, this is 2 Texas quarterbacks in a row who were 5-star number 1 player in the class, who are coached by Sark, who's a QB guru, and they both throw like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. I don't understand. Why is the ball coming out down here? I coached softball for 8 years. kids in first grade. You're teaching them where to throw.
Yeah.
Where's the ball? That is not where the ball is. I know that when Quinn Ewers was a high school recruit, I talked to people about that, and I said, "What is with his throwing motion?" And I was constantly told, "It's the feet. Watch the feet. Don't worry about the arm.
The ball
you can
gets
throw
where it
off
needs to
platform,
go."
it gets out." And it's like, that's fine, whatever. If that's what it is, it looks weird. If it gets where it needs to go, fine, that's fine. But this is 2 in a row for Texas that it's like it looks weird for a quarterback that highly touted, who's obviously he has NFL Hall of Famers in his family group text. That's bizarre to me. One of the things that was we have we have a little bit of sound from Steve Sarkisian that I wanted to play here. It's going to be the one where it's Sark talking about what Ohio State did in terms of the defensive game plan that sort of, I'm going to find the actual name of the file. Sark on the Ohio State defense is the soundbite that we're going to pull here. It's just talking a little bit about what Matt Patricia did to sort of confuse them and sort of throw them off a little bit to that and then how they sort of had to adjust to that a little bit. It's coming. I promise. Hang on.
Maybe this is why Arch has to rush.
Time management. It's all right. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You tell me when that's ready, and we'll get there. But it's he talked about the fact that coming in with it being Matt Patricia, they didn't know quite what to expect because you had a new defensive coordinator. You had just played this team, but how different was it going to be? All right, so now we got that ready to go. Here we go.
Yeah, again, I think that they have a very good secondary, and I thought their ability to disguise coverages in the first half was at an elite level. I wouldn't say a good level, an elite level, and I think that starts with, they got Caleb Downs. He's very savvy. He's very smart. They're able to hold coverages, and whether it was a two-deep shell, rolling to one high, playing two deep, the variations of cover two they played against us, they minimized the explosive plays. They stayed on top, and really that's what we did. We have a Michael Taff, Jelani McDonald. Those guys are savvy players, and we were able to do kind of both things there. I thought Manny Muhammad had a very good game for us. It's unfortunate, the one kind of shot they took on us, they made Carnell Tate makes a heck of a catch for a touchdown. But I thought both secondaries are good, both fronts are good. These are two good teams, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again, December, January down the road.
All right, so that was, I think, partly correct, partly not correct. So sorry. Anyway, so Denver Dunbar says, hats off the Bucks, hell of a defense, good game, #hook 'em. Yeah, I think this is a game where both teams are walking out of here feeling pretty okay about stuff. It's these are teams that I think are both, you come out, you'd prefer, we hear this every year, it seems like. Week one, everyone improves the most from week one to week two. You've got lots to teach off of from week one. But you're happy to have the win and then be able to teach off of a win. I don't think this is a loss that's going to really materially hurt Texas that much. So this is a game where I think both teams are walking out of here going, yeah, that was a good football game, and we'll probably see you later in the season.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah. Mike Ferguson says Sark's wife still dresses him just like he's 5 years old.
I mean, okay, that's not me saying that. That's Tom reading it.
Robert Howard says, because my work schedule doesn't allow me to join many lives. Thanks, guys, for your hard work. I encourage everyone to consider becoming a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We would encourage that as well. Yeah. The game thread, I'm sure, was jumping today. I had not looked at it since halftime or so, and I came back, and then it was like twice as long as it was all week long. It was like, oh boy, it got lively in the second half.
Yeah, every time I try to check in, there'd be like 5 new pages. I'm like, well, let's see. What's the mood right now?
Right. Well,
but I don't think there was a lot to get angry about. There's maybe some things to get frustrated about, but overall, there was enough to keep people happy. And a defense like that will travel, will keep fans happy. You can be frustrated with the offense, but it's like, at least we got the defense, and that defense will right now it looks like it'll carry them a little ways. And I don't expect the offense to continue to average 203 yards per game, but I do want to see the running game get better.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks when I'm really interested to talk to Ross Fulton and get his thoughts on schematically what was going on. I say this every game. It feels like I'm down on the field. I have a terrible view of everything. I feel like I've got to go home and watch the game to have really seen the game. I have a broad strokes understanding of what's happened, but that's kind of it at this point. But it does feel like this is a team where the top line numbers were not very good, but there's very logical reasons for that. And they never got pushed into having to do a lot. They were able to sort of sit back and be a little more conservative and not have to really there was basically the whole day felt like just don't make the big mistake and you'll probably win the football game. And that felt like kind of what the game plan was for the most part. They took the shot downfield when they needed to take the shot downfield. They hit some really crucial plays that were not huge plays yardage wise, but were big plays in terms of, hey, move the sticks, maintain possession. You talked on the field about the use of timeouts and how smart they were with how they used their timeouts today.
Yeah, every time. And none of these were the clock is running out or whatever. It's like every time they saw something they didn't like offensively or defensively, they stopped it. And they got a timeout and they used them perfectly and then readjusted and came back with something that they felt would be better. And so they never got stuck out there with something that they didn't want or something that they saw that they didn't like. They were on it. And the good thing is for them is since they didn't have to waste any of the timeouts on trying to stop a delay of game or for whatever reason, like they had their timeouts to use and they used them perfectly.
I'm just looking at Ohio State's drive chart, and I'm just going to read the yardage for Ohio State's drives. 9, 17, 80, 21, kneel down before halftime, 6, 7, 68, 11, 5, and then the kneel downs at the end. 2 drives longer than 21 yards all day. 80 yards, 68 yards. Tony, do you know when the first one happened? What happened right in the middle of that drive?
What?
The song Ohio by Camp was played between the first and second quarter. You know what happened in the middle of the 68-yard drive? They didn't play Hang On Sloopy between the third and fourth quarter. Tony, has the lack of Camp and the presence of Hang On Sloopy been the only thing holding this Ohio State football program back for years? People are asking these questions.
I think you're right to question those. And they did play Hang On Sloopy later on. But
they did.
Did
they score a touchdown after that?
I think
no, they did not.
See, I think it's okay to commend everything that was put in place and the crowd. And it was fantastic today. Very loud. And when you're in South stands, and again, now the band is now in the North stands. But when you're in South stands now and you're getting blasted by the band because of the speakers behind you, that changes the game. And it was loud in there. Some of it was manufactured in terms of the band and then the amplification, but the crowd was in it throughout. They were in their seats. Ryan Day said they were in their seats early on. I thought then the Buckeye leaves for all of the timeouts or the penalties that the crowd caused, that worked well. I thought everything. I did not see or I did not recognize or I did not notice people waving the towels. I don't know if that was a thing.
It's because everyone was wearing red,
so it's hard to see.
And
anyway,
the towels were red. So,
but I thought everything else was done pretty well. And while there were people talking in the press box, once Ohio by Camp came on, I'm like, hey, shh, it's the stadium anthem. Respect it.
It's the state's national anthem. Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting that the stuff that people were really exercised about beforehand was the stuff that they started playing the song and it was like, oh, it's the song. And it didn't have a big reaction. It didn't have a bad reaction. It was just kind of like, I think 80% of people in the stadium are like, they're playing a song during a commercial break like they do so many times. So I don't feel like there was any reaction at all to that.
It almost just looked like a commercial for Ohio.
Yeah, it was like an Ohio tourism commercial almost, but I was going to make the same point you did, which is the amplification for the band of all the stuff, the laundry list of stuff they talked about, that got like the least coverage. That was the single biggest thing because I'm up in the north stand. I'm in the north end of the stadium, and I had the band coming from my left, and I had the band coming from my right. I had the band coming from behind me,
Surround
and then
sound.
in South stands, it was the same thing. And it was like, you want the college atmosphere.
Mhm.
That was the single biggest differentiation point to me in terms of just the college atmosphere around the stadium. You can hear the band. The band is everywhere, and you hear them clearly, and it's not on a delay that
Right.
you're playing Hang On Sloopy, and then the people in South stands are a second and a half ahead of the people in North stands because of the way sound travel. Like that was the single biggest change to me. I thought that was really cool. And next week is kind of the band game where you've got Grambling coming in. That should be really fun, and hopefully they have the Grambling bands mic'd up as well. I don't know that I heard the Texas bands other than when I was up in the North
Right.
end zone,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And it's it was impressive, and it was noticeable. It's like, gosh, is the band playing? Are they just playing louder? Like,
Yeah.
No, they're playing a lot as well.
Yeah.
Super chat from Mike Ferguson: $40 million roster, 0-1. I would say they needed to spend some more money on some receivers to help out Archman. But if the throws are going to be at the ankles, maybe not. But again, this is going to be a different team, and even Ryan Day said the Ohio State team will be much different middle of the season, let alone end of the season.
Yeah, I keep saying Halloween. Like this Ohio State team, when Penn State comes to town for November 1st or whatever that is, it's generally right around Halloween weekend. It's going to be a very different looking Ohio State team. It'll probably be a decently different looking Penn State team. Week one, everyone is like in this huge rush to make these final definitive judgments. And it's like, there's so much football left to come. And these teams, both coaching staffs, I think, are still today, we're just kind of trying to figure out like, okay, what do we really have? We think we know what they have. What do we really have? And how are they really going to do in these situations? Because you don't, Matt Patricia talked about this over and over again during preseason. You don't have preseason games. So you really don't know, which, I mean, my sense from watching Ryan Day and watching Matt Patricia during the game, by the way, Matt Patricia on the sidelines. How about that? He was. Yeah, he was on the sidelines. I was shocked at that. But I think those guys were both walking off the field feeling pretty good about, job's not done by any means, but you've kind of crossed your first bridge, and it was a pretty big one.
Yeah, he was obviously had a smile on his face in here afterwards.
Oh yeah.
But again, this was you're only dialing it up so much in this game, and you've got two conservative approaches offensively. So how much do you really need to do defensively? But watching Caleb Downs run all over the place, watching Arvell Reese line up. Sometimes I'm a middle linebacker. Sometimes I'm a defensive end. Sometimes I'm whatever I want to be. Sometimes I'm
a bad Bama Jamma.
Right, and tracking down Arch Manning. During the game, I got a text from an NFL scout. He's like, that number 8 is pretty good. That number 8 is a guy. And I was like, yes, his name is Arvell Reese. He's from Glenville. He's a junior. He's 6'4", 243 pounds. And you might want to pay attention to him because this might be his last season in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, Sonny Styles is the one that everyone for years has talked about as this athletic marvel. And, oh, boy, what is he going to do at the next level? All of that remains true. But it's also maybe true about Arvell Reese. They have some really, I mean, they played a Texas team that has some really good linebackers. Ohio State was not giving any ground in terms of linebacker talent in that matchup today.
No, and Sonny Styles, he was banged up a couple times in this game, slow to get off the field. I think slow to get up off the interception. There's also a play where one of the maybe the fourth down stop or one of the stops and towards the goal line, him and Lorenzo Styles are kind of the last two guys to get up off the field. And it's like, look at those two brothers probably wrestling inside of a scrum as well. Good game by Sonny. And I do wonder what kind of toll this game took on some people and how many guys might we not see next week.
Yeah, I am pretty confident you shouldn't see Kenyatta Jackson next week.
Correct.
You might just give Kenyatta Jackson the next 3 weeks off and just say, we'll see you in Seattle. And I think you're probably also going to see a little bit of some other guys, but not, sure. Let's see Sonny Styles, but let's see 10 snaps of Sonny Styles. Let's see, it's hard to understate how bad Grambling is in terms of,
Right.
Grambling was, I think, 200th in SP Plus preseason, which means they're below some D2 teams in SP Plus, which is a tempo-free contextual computer ranking system from Bill Connolly from ESPN. That's pretty reputable. I think that maybe had Ohio State favored by 4 or 5, and like with the home field advantage, I think it was about a 7-point advantage. So it had this one pretty well nailed. But yeah, it is going to be it's not a football game next weekend. It is a band concert with some football surrounding it just for contraction, because the TV folks insist on it.
It's a spring game in September is basically what that is.
Robert Howard gifted some Buckeye Huddle memberships on YouTube, so thank you. Appreciate that.
We always appreciate that.
Mike says we need a dramatic Afro duck during field goals, just like the Golden Gopher scoreboard. Man,
that's a great idea. RIP
do the kids
Afro Duck.
Do the kids today remember Afro Duck?
The kids should. It was like 8 years ago, right?
This feels like one of those
kids?
things this feels like something you're gonna Google, you're gonna realize that kids who are in college now were in like kindergarten or maybe preschool when Afro Duck passed to the great bread store.
Let me check his Wikipedia page. Oh my God!
Yes, Afro Duck died in January 2016. So we're coming up on 10 years. So all right, so they were in second grade. Kids or third grade. So yes, the freshmen in college this year were in third grade when that happened. So yeah, it's been a minute.
Yes, that's terrible. Way to bring the show down. Appreciate that.
Mateo wants to know, how do I gift memberships to YouTube? Kevin shrugged, which I assume means he's going to look it up and figure out. So thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Do you have to also be a member to gift memberships?
I don't. Maybe. Yeah, I saw someone their comment real quick punched up about not being impressed with Manning, and I think that's fair. That's okay, but you don't. There's, I think, a line between I wasn't impressed with Arch Manning today and Arch Manning's never going to be good. Those are two different things. Yes. Arch Manning this was his first start against a real team, a team that's made up of actual football players. He had played ULM and a terrible, terrible Mississippi State team last year. I think I heard that the teams that he had played the most against in those 3 games, none of those teams were ranked above like 95th in defensive FEI. I mean, they were like all among the worst defenses in the country. So this was a very tough first, road, first real start for him. If this game was down in Austin and Ohio State had lost 14-7, we'd be saying all the same stuff about Julian saying. It's his first start. It's a tough environment. It's a good defense. It's week 1. You haven't gotten situated. You haven't got your feet under yourself yet. You're going to get better. You have to just understand the context around all that and say he's probably going to be pretty good at some point. You can see, I mean, there was one play where he ran for, he picked up a first down. It might have been one where he ran for 13 or 15 yards, but he made Arvell Reese miss, and then he made someone else miss. Maybe Kenyatta Jackson. There were a couple, he made like 3 different Buckeyes miss going around the end. And it's like, and he's, and he can play quarterback. Like if you were running back and you made 3 guys miss like that, it'd be like, ooh, that's a nice play. He's a quarterback and he did that. Like that. This is, you can see it. It's in there. You just have to be a little bit patient. And I'm sure Texas fans, it's very easy to look at Julian saying and go, well, you need to be a little bit patient, and you can be real patient because they won the game. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's a little harder for Texas fans right now, but you have to be a little bit patient. This is going to be a little bit of a process.
Yeah. He was 17 of 30 for 170 yards, a touchdown and an interception. And I think in terms of, I wasn't impressed with him, or there were plays that were not impressive. He was inaccurate throughout the game. I also think, was he any different than, say, JT Barrett in terms of accuracy? No. We've gotten spoiled at Ohio State watching all of the accurate quarterbacks that we've seen over the years. But I think it was a normal inaccuracy day. However, what everybody has been promising, and not Arch, not Steve Sarkisian, but all of the pundits were like, oh, this is the guy. It's Arch Manning. He's the Heisman favorite. He's the best player. I don't know if he's the best. He's at least a top 5 player right now. And my point all along was, how do you know?
Right.
What have you seen
Right.
that has shown anything above what Garrett Nussmeier has done, Cade Klubnik has done,
Mhm.
a number of other guys in the SEC or the Big Ten, Drew Aller, like, what have you seen from him? Well, he was pretty good against Mississippi State. I'm sorry, that's not enough.
Right.
And so he was, there's no way he could have lived up to the hype.
Mhm.
Julian Sand, 13 of 20, 126 yards, very pedestrian day. Nobody's saying, boy, what's wrong with that guy?
Right. Well, they won, so therefore, it's, and I think both guys should be getting treated exactly the same right now, which is, yeah, first real start in a first real big boy football game in a challenging environment against a good defense. Yeah, you are not going to look like late 2022 CJ Stroud. Do you remember what CJ Stroud looked like in Minnesota in 2021? I mean, that was the first game post-COVID, and he had like a 70-yard pass on like a little swing pass or a screen or something, Travion Henderson, and he hit a couple other plays, but he had Chris Olave on that team. He had Garrett Wilson on that team. I mean, that was a loaded team. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He had a freshman Travion Henderson.
I believe he
And
was
that-
13 of 22 in that game. And as I check
Yeah.
myself right now, 13 of 22, but
Yes.
294
Right,
yards.
but 59%
Yeah.
completions, 13.4 yards per attempt, which it helps a lot when you have you throw the ball 3 yards in the air
Yeah.
and then Travion Henderson goes 7. That helps a lot, but 70. But 59% completions and Julian Sands 65% completions today against a much better defense. So
With several drops.
with several drops, yeah.
So you get really without the drops. I think I said this was Kevin. He's probably 16 of 20 for like 160 yards. It's very still 80% completion, but the yardage he took what they gave him.
Yeah.
Didn't press anything. Again, only maybe 9 possessions, 4 in the first half, and maybe did they have 5 real possessions in the second half? The way in Texas at least was trying to go fast so that Ohio State would maybe get. Not for Ohio State's sake,
Right.
but
Yeah. They had 9 real possessions outside of the kneel down at the end of the half and the kneel downs at the end of the game. They had 4 in the first half and 5 in the second half.
the days of 600 yards of total offense.
Well, and
outside of next week,
Ohio State was perfectly happy to just hang on to the ball, don't make a mistake, punt, play field position. I mean, this was Jim Tressel was here. I'm sure Jim Tressel had a little tear in his eye watching a 14-7 game. Texas, the other piece of it was Texas. When Texas had 2 drives that went 15 plays, 70 yards, ended on downs. 13 plays, 76 yards, ended on downs. That was 12 minutes of the second half was those 2 drives that Texas got nothing, 0 points on. That and then they had 6 plays, 38 yards that ended on downs. They had a drive in the first half. They had drives that ended on downs on the OSU 42, the 1-yard line, the 9-yard line, and the 47-yard line. 4 drives that ended in Ohio State territory on downs. That goal line stand, by the way.
Yeah.
That goal line stand was Ohio State's had a couple goal line stands in the last year and this year now. You had the one, the Jack Sawyer one, obviously last year. They had a great one against Penn State. I mean, they've had some great goal line stands that, like, when you read about the Ohio State Michigan games from the 1970s, there are these legendary goal line stands. I don't know what it is. If it's just that, that people were like writing stuff down in books and then that became like the common shared wisdom. Now it feels like these are all games are a little more disposable for whatever reason. And it kind of gets forgotten a little bit, but they've had some really huge goal line stands against really good opponents in the last year or so.
Well, and you'll see every now and again on Twitter, it'll pop up like 4 photos of these goal line stands, and it's like 0 points were scored in all of these. And it's like, they should have been. And again, Caden McDonald and Caden Curry, all of the Cadens were good in the scrums with those short yardage stuff.
Sark said that he thought that they just kind of, Ohio State's guys just got up underneath the Texas offensive line and just cut Arch's legs out from under him. Never had a chance to do it. He said they had been very effective in, I guess in practice with sneaks in those kind of situations.
Right.
And, he said that their mindset was don't let Ohio State sub big dudes in. It was, it was a half-yard line or whatever it was, hustle up the line and just go,
Yeah.
line up and go. And Ohio State won at the point of attack. That's low man wins, as
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah.
All right.
Elizabeth gifting 5 Ohio State football at Buckeye Huddle memberships. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that as well.
Yeah, Jamel, thank you for doing 10.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And then there's a super chat that I wanted to get to because of all of the changes today. This one angered me. This is the only thing that angered me today.
Did they not do knocker ball?
They did knocker ball, but they did it from about 10 feet away. And it's like they put 4 people in there, as always. They didn't run from the sidelines. They legitimately were like maybe 10 yards away from each other. So they could not build up any speed. They could not build up any violence, Kevin.
What about during the race when knocker ball sent the guy flying?
Now, I don't know. You guys can tell me, did you guys see that when they had there was a race? And
Was it the Brutus race?
yes, I may have
Okay.
been the Brutus race, but then the guy in the Texas shirt got absolutely debacled by somebody in a knocker ball. Now,
We love a good plant, don't we, folks?
and yes, that was a plant. I don't want to get too involved, but
How
let's
deep
just
does the
say-
conspiracy go,
let's
Tony?
just say the Ohio State marketing people will take one for the team. And he did. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if anybody saw if that was, I don't know why that would be on TV when it was just a thing. But if anybody got that, he got depleted. And he's probably thinking, I'm glad this is weekend double pay because he did not look too happy coming off of the sideline.
Knocker ball from CDEC is Mike's suggestion. Yeah, I came out of I had run back to that happened right after some big play. So I'm like hustling back to send photos back or something like that. And so I missed the knocker ball. I missed the Brutus race. I missed all the action. All I got to watch was the football.
Yeah, and again, the knocker ball, and they didn't even do it as long. I think they realized this isn't very good. Let's just scrap it. It was bad, and I feel bad for the people, mostly myself, because we look forward to knocker ball. We look forward to people running 50 yards and crashing into each other. Not this patty cake stuff that they had going today. I'm glad Jim Tressel was there so that he could see this and get the government involved.
Mhm.
Go to the very top if he needs to be.
Mhm.
Bring back the old knocker ball. Tradition evolved. No tradition back. I need my knocker ball.
Do what you will with the victory bell,
Right.
and hang on,
Archie,
Sloopy. But
Smarchie.
beloved tradition, knocker
Yes.
ball. Please, come on. Let's recognize what is
Right.
sacred around here.
Yes, please.
Do we have questions that we want to get to? Or are we?
Well,
I'll
well, I got a couple. I mean, we were joking. It's like, do we go 2 hours? Do we go an hour? What did we go here?
Yeah.
We've gone well over an hour. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason Manley says, preface, I'm an idiot. Is it me or does Arch Manning have terrible throwing mechanics? We talked about this a little earlier. I keep getting told mechanics are the legs, and you're driving with your legs, and you're using your whole body, and your throwing can be from wherever, and you can throw off platform and it's fine. And that, as long as your base is good, the arm is more, you're just sort of like that. That's window dressing more than anything else. That I keep getting told that, so that's fine. I am not a QB guru, but that's what I've been told.
So this from Greg Harvey on Twitter at Between the Nums, NUMS. Teams in the last 30 seasons to hold an AP number 1 team to 7 or fewer points while having 0 turnovers on offense. Ohio State today, Alabama and that slugfest against LSU in 2012, and then Kansas State versus Oklahoma in 2003.
Oh, in the Big 12 championship
That's
game,
it.
that was the game right before they played Ohio State in the before K-State played Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. Yeah,
Lots of punching and fighting, and just like football wise
yeah.
in those games. Impressive.
Joe Ressa says Dave Portnoy does not know good pizza. Can I give my Dave Portnoy speech here?
Yes, please, because yes,
Okay.
I will also say at one point I tweeted awful announcing, tweeted out some video of it. I haven't watched any of the video yet, but I could tell it wasn't good, and I just said good content, Fox, to which Portnoy then retweeted it saying cry harder or something to that effect. So yes, I'm
Okay.
out here crying harder. Please, whatever you want to say, defend me a little bit.
Okay, so when you are a TV station, TV network, and you bring in someone like that, why are you bringing them in? You're bringing them in for attention. if you're giving them attention, you're rewarding that behavior. So you have two choices. One is if you don't want Dave Portnoy to come back to Ohio State, there are two things you can do. One is you just don't show up the next time. You don't give it any oxygen. You just, if they show up and there's 13 people behind them and guess what? Okay, that's fine. Like, you already hate them because they put your games on at noon. Just don't show up. Don't show up. Don't watch it. Like, that's it. And you can make it clear, I'm not doing this because of that. Just the best thing you can do though is just don't do anything. The number two thing, Tony, is George Carlin. You're familiar with George Carlin?
Yes.
He has a list of words you can't say on TV. You could also show up en masse, choose one of those words, say the person's name, and do that loudly together for 3 hours. I would pretty much guarantee it would only take like once or twice of that. Yeah. I mean, you can, and I'm not endorsing either of these plans. I'm just saying, and listen, there are many good chance if someone's name, first and last name, is 3 syllables, and you pick one of those George Carlin words, there's some very natural chance that you could sustain as an audience for 3 hours loudly. That would probably make it clear to them that this person is no longer welcome. Or you can just ignore them. Either one. I'm not endorsing either of them. I'm just saying, if you want to do it, either one of those will solve your problem. Talking about it online, going, this makes me mad, that just rewards the behavior.
So you're suggesting don't do what I do. Instead,
I'm just saying, as a person who understands how this works, there are 2 ways you can solve this problem. You pick whichever one you want to do, but you got to commit to the bit. Either you don't show up or you really show up. You really show up.
Ooh,
and show's only 3 hours? You can yell for 3 hours.
Well, even like in wrestling when they drop F-bombs and they
no one said, I just said George Carlin. I didn't say, no one said.
I'm just for an example of a word that is not allowed. There's
fire,
silence.
Is that
And like it gets dumped, and you can't dump a show because then it becomes unwatchable. So if you have to keep dumping a show, and again, nobody's saying go do this, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can solve creative problem solving. Tony is
that is creative.
It is creative. Jordan Kapler says it's getting ugly in Tallahassee, almost as ugly as. I'll let you finish that sentence.
I'm not doing any of that. But
24/7
as ugly
24/7
as Alabama's offense.
The drives for Florida State. I mean, Alabama had 16 plays, 75 yards on that opening touchdown drive, missed a field goal on the second one, and then has had a couple 6-play drives after that. 775 for Florida State, 865, 952, 5 for 15 before halftime, 5 for 16, but then 2 for 68 for another touchdown after halftime.
Tommy C talked some good smack before the game, and he's lived up to it.
Tommy Castellanos, man, that is. Well, certainly, Tony, they won't play they play a finer quarterback than Tommy Castellanos in SEC play. So,
that's true.
And also, it's now the third quarter of week 1. So I'm reminded, while we're in the Dave Portnoy headspace, I'm reminded of a great Clay Travis tweet from 2014 where it was September 6th or something like that. And it was like after Ohio State had lost to Virginia Tech and Michigan had lost to someone and Penn State had lost to someone. And he said it's September 8th or whatever it is. And the Big Ten has been eliminated from national championship contention. Tony, how did the 2014 NCAA season end?
Well, in fact, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who were not eliminated from playoff contention, did win the playoffs. Tom, were there some elements that you needed to run through? Anything else that you wanted to?
I did want to give. We have a soundbite that's labeled as Sark on the offensive game plan, and I thought that this was something that he talked about that was kind of interesting, where he was discussing sort of how they went about what they were doing and how they came in, because he felt like, if he'd run Arch Manning a little more in the first half, that might have helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But sort of the thinking behind how they came in here, what they were sort of expecting from Matt Patricia. So let's run that one.
I just felt like, hey, I was going to try to do some things that I felt like he was really comfortable with in practice. With the unknowing of how they were going to play us, and what they were going to do. And so I don't feel bad necessarily about the plan. Like I said, I think I probably would have incorporated him running the ball more earlier in the game, and maybe that would have settled him down more. But I think the things we had up, we felt good about. I think there's probably some throws in the first half if he could have back. All right, if we call those same things in the second half, he probably makes a couple of those throws, and that may change some things there too. But that was expectable. But like I said, you go in, you try to put your players in position to have some success. We didn't have as much as we would have liked, especially in the first half. But I think we're learning a little better formula for him, which in turn is better for our offense and ultimately better for the team.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, so there you go, Steve Sarkisian's thoughts on the game plan there and what went into it. And I think both teams kind of came in with a little bit of a similar idea. There's, don't try and go crazy. A little bit of a feeling out period. Just don't make the big mistake.
I'm fascinated to see what the approach is if they play again, just to see the different styles that we might see from them.
Yeah. All right, so I want to get to a couple graphics that we got here. Buckeye quarterback opener debuts. So 2025 Julian Sayin versus Texas, 13 for 20, 126 yards, a touchdown, no turnovers, I think, which is the key line there. 2024 Will Howard versus Akron. Feels like it's doing kind of most of the lifting there. 2023 Kyle McCord versus Notre Dame, 20 of 33, 239 yards and an interception, and almost had a second interception. They won that one. CJ Stroud versus Minnesota, we talked about that one earlier. Justin Fields versus Florida Atlantic. I mean, shiny numbers, but it's Florida Atlantic. Dwayne Haskins versus Oregon State, and that was 313 yards and 5 touchdowns. But that was a game where they gave up 31 points, so they needed to keep the pedal down for quite a while. Cardell Jones versus Virginia Tech. You may remember that one. JT Barrett versus Navy. Man, that was another one. That was a humdinger of a game. 12 of 15, 226 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick, 9 carries, 50 yards. Braxton Miller versus Miami of Ohio. Lots of numbers, but versus Miami of Ohio, and then Terrell Pryor against Navy. And that was another one where there's what really strikes me there is you look at the quality of the teams there, and there's at Notre Dame against Texas, and then a bunch of something, 7 and 5 or worse types of teams there.
This was a tough ask, and he handled it perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at some of the defensive stats from the game, Davison Igbinosun, 10 tackles. We have not talked about him at all. He had a nice game, no penalties as far as I am aware, and had the big play on 4th down. And man, when he got up, that was an enthusiastic celebration. That was a happy Davison Igbinosun.
That was one where you're also looking around for flags, either at the line of scrimmage or wherever.
Yeah.
I did not like that play call. I thought, that was a 4th and 3 from like the 8 or whatever. It's like, go ahead and just pick up the first down. You don't need to be thrown into the end zone.
Yeah. Arvell Reese, 9 tackles. Jalen McClain, real solid game from Jalen McClain, 8 tackles. Caden McDonald, 7, and another Lorenzo Styles, 7 tackles. Caden Curry, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs. I mean, it was a really good defensive effort. And there were a bunch of people who we've seen people in the comments on YouTube and people on our board asking, oh boy, how sure are you that this guy is going to be okay? And it was a really solid overall performance, I thought.
Caden McDonald, career high, previously was 3 tackles.
Wow.
And he had 5 at the half.
Yeah. Yep. And then last one I want to hit is receiving stats. CJ Donaldson had a catch for 9 yards. I don't know that picture is from early in the game, so you can't see. CJ Donaldson, how hard they ran CJ Donaldson. The front of his jersey looked like he had played on a wet grass field, like muddy grass field. He fell forward a lot.
Yeah, he
but
did.
Man, he got battered quite a bit. But yeah, had a nice play in the receiving game as well. Max Clare, only one catch for 11 yards, but they went to him. They were looking for him on one of the early third downs, and it was just out of bounds. Jeremiah Smith, 6 catches, 43 yards, 10 targets. I would take 10 targets for Jeremiah Smith in every game. You're going to get a lot more than 43 yards out of most of those games, but that was he was, not huge numbers, top line numbers, but man, there were just a couple times where it was like, boy, this is a big play, and then whoop, there's Jeremiah Smith and 9 yards, but it was a first down.
Yeah, and they would keep him short at times because they knew you're no use going over the top. So let's just get him the ball and have him pick up the 7 yards if that's what they needed.
Yep, Brandon Ennis, 2 catches, 8 yards. Carnell Tate, 2 catches, 49 yards. That big one. I mean, both of those catches were big. I mean, the touchdown's the obvious one, but the other one was kind of a low-key, real important play for them as well.
For sure. Julian Sands scrambling out of the end zone, and most guys would probably have thrown it away or thrown it back over the middle, and he put it right where Carnell Tate could get it, and they got a first down out of it.
Yep. I think we are good. Are we caught up on Super Chats? We are good.
All right. Then if we are caught up, then we will go ahead and thank you all. And if you have not hit the thumbs up, we would appreciate you doing that. And, of course, continue to find us over at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We're going to be talking about this one for a while, and you can find us there at the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. We'd love to see you there. It's the absolute best way to support what we do. Thank you all for the Super Chats. Thank you all for the memberships. And we will talk to you guys later.